So if the objective is, hey, you just want to make music that's edifying to Christians, I think you nail it here. You know what I'm saying? I think this does that. If the objective is, hey, I want to make progressive art that's relevant to where music is now, I think you could be a bit more creative with your cadences. I think some of the production felt a little dated with the way the snares were used. Yeah, and then like, I mean, that's why I asked, because like that last verse, I mean, you're pretty much walking people through.
It was the Sinner's Prayer.
Yeah, the Sinner's Prayer.
I made that track for a youth group. I went to a Christian youth camp.
Yeah.
In last summer, and literally I made that track as like the anthem of the whole camp.
Yeah.
For youth that were going there. So really, some of the other tracks I got, they can't relate more to people just in the streets and doing my old life. You know what I mean? Going out to the club every night. But this was more of a straight, hey, leading to Christ. I've never even done the Sinner's Prayer type song, so I thought it was different.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say almost every Christian rapper has done some type of Sinner's Prayer in their raps. You know what I mean? So again, so much of this is dependent on what is the objective, right? So if the objective is like, man, I just want to make really edifying music for Christians and youth group kids, cool. You know what I mean? If the objective is, hey, I want to make this a music career and I want this to become a profitable income, I think you're gonna have to just consider some other variables in the creation process and the marketing process, and in the overall packaging of what you're doing.
What would you say the main things, like, is overall things to change up? Because by your face, it seems like I got a lot to work on. So
no, you can clearly rap. Like, you can rap. You know what I'm saying? I think if you can. You weren't here when Ray Rock was here earlier, but he made a lot of really good points.
No, I was listening to him, actually.
Yeah.
I disagree with some of the stuff he said, to be honest, but because I actually had a track that was going crazy. I was going to Black Lives Matter's protests, and I was doing this track called Raised in America, and really I had this whole track where I was trying to reach out to the whole, gay community, the Native community, Mexican community. I had like this whole package of just vibes, and I really, like I said, trashed it all because I started seeing people that weren't there for the gospel songs. They would come to my shows, but they was like, I want to hear that track and that track. But as soon as I start talking about the gospel, they pick up on their phones, they go text, and they come in. You know what I mean? Once the tracks they like came, and so I was like, no, I'm in this for Christ. I'm in this to save souls and win souls. I see this as a music ministry. It's not like a artistry. I mean, I've had people say, if you take out Jesus, I'll sign you to a small record label. And I just didn't want to do that because that's not where my heart's at.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if the objective is this is a music ministry for you, right? Then the means to how you do it is going to be different than how I do it. See, I'm trying to bring people on a journey along with me. I'm trying to service people and give them value in very tangible, practical ways. Right. And then in the process, I'm attracting a diverse audience that's not just Christians. You know what I mean? And there's not just Christians watching this stream right now. Yet in that journey, they're going to come along with me. And what I'm becoming is I'm becoming that example of a Christian in culture that's unapologetic and uncompromising about my views, but at the same time, they get a different perspective than just the gospel preached through a rap song. It's a longer term play, right? So to me, my life is my ministry, my music and my art and my YouTube. That's a business. This is a business that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? My life, my overall life. So if I'm a Christian, I minister in every part of my life. I minister in my home. Let me finish my point. I minister in my home. I minister with who I am when I'm out at the grocery store. I minister, right? I'm consistently ministering, and Jesus becomes the overflow of every area. It's not compartmentalized to just who I am on the mic. You know what I mean? And I'm probably times I'm very overt about my faith, and there are times where I don't talk about my faith at all in my music, right? Or on my YouTube. There's videos I have where I don't talk about my faith at all. You know what I mean? And there are videos that I'm intentionally, I got to bring this back to a biblical principle. I got to bring this back to a Bible verse or some type of Bible passage, right? So where it sounds like your method is like if you were a YouTuber every video would be a Bible study. Every video would have to go back to the gospel, right? And that's cool. That's cool. Just know that your audience is different, and just know that you are approaching this as a ministry. So it should probably be packaged different. It should probably look more like a nonprofit for you and less like a for-profit LLC. You know what I mean? And so you have to figure out what is that balance for you. It's going to look completely different for someone like me. So I'm sorry. Now go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. You had a question.
Just the same question you asked me earlier. What would you say is the point of your music? Like, why do you make music?
That's a great question. So I make art to contextualize Jesus and to make the principles of the gospel and the principles of God simple to people, right? I have a gift for making complex things simple, meaning that like I could get an artist on here and I give him some really practical marketing advice that seems mad complicated, but it's really simple. And a lot of it is connected to my worldview as a Christian. Help people, add value, encourage people, edify, right? So I'm here to empower people to live God's dream for their life, right? Both spiritually, financially, both relationally, professionally, across the board. So my ministry isn't necessarily to preach Jesus and that's all I'm consumed with, right? Every Christian should preach Jesus. Every Christian should make disciples. I have a unique slant in where I'm positioned as a creative in that I could preach Jesus, but I could also show people Jesus and take them along the ride and to see how does a Christian engage in a fair way in the social unrest that's happening between Black Lives Matter? How does a Christian engage in a healthy way with politics? How does a Christian engage with business ethically? How does a Christian make money ethically? How does a Christian, right, take care of his body? So I'm trying to really make these things tangible and practical, because what I ran into a lot of people that love Jesus, that preached the gospel up and down, who were on the streets doing evangelism, had the right theology, knew the scriptures, but their life was a train wreck, right? They had the right belief, but their behavior was awful. Meaning that they were in the same place they were in before they got saved. They were still in the hood. They were still in debt. They were still living paycheck to paycheck. They were still in bondage. And I'm like, yo, I come from nothing. I come from poverty. I come from being very, very poor, on welfare, government cheese, the whole bit. I feel like there should be a transformation as somebody's life is transformed. Their life is transformed.
Yeah, well, I think on that point, though, is like, I guess that's what confuses me, because I hear so many Christian rappers that make music like you would think like, okay, in their life they're living it out, they're walking it. On their music, it's not really edifying. Like when you hear a song, it just like it sounds like a secular song. So I don't understand why they market themselves as a Christian rapper instead of just a Christian that raps. Because every time, like when I worked at Walmart, people will come up to me like, yo, I heard this new Christian artist. They're not Christians, you know what I mean? They're like, I heard this Christian artist. And it's dope. Like, I like what he's talking about this and about that, and it gives them a different worldview than what they already know. You know what I mean? But when you're making the same exact music as Drake, or making the same music as, Bryson Tiller, and you're making love songs about how your ex cheated on you and all this, and forget her, and you're not giving people more of a solution. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what Ray Rock was talking about. I think he said something about, TK was talking about not always giving a solution. I feel that's like, what's the point of doing Christian music then if we're not giving people a solution? As we're transforming. I used to go to the club every night. I was going to the club getting drunk, you know what I mean, just running them up. And now I'm trying to show people, hey, I was doing that, but as you're doing that, we got to start to level up, as Homeboy was saying on his last track, you know what I mean? And I guess that's where I kind of get lost in the mix a little bit.
I love it.
I hear people say, go ahead.
I love it. No, I think that's a great point. So I think it would all go back, I guess, to people's personal convictions to a degree. I think some people view their music as art, and that's all it is to them. So they are a Christian who is an artist, right? Whether or not they're a Christian rapper or rappers, I don't care to have that debate. So their music to them is a journal. It's literally a journal entry. So this is where you would get into someone like NF, right? Which is like, my man's is started in the Christian world, and his music doesn't necessarily have a resolution to it, right? And now it's kind of what Ray Rock was saying was, and I don't think Ray Rock was saying don't ever preach the gospel. I think what he was saying was it's appropriate to sometimes have songs that don't give the solution, right? Where do we present the solution? In my opinion, I feel convicted to do it on an album. Every album that I make, there's going to be a clear gospel presentation on it. But I don't feel the conviction to do it on every YouTube video or every song or every Instagram post, right? I don't feel that conviction to be like, oh, I gotta, this is my one shot. Somebody may not know Jesus if I don't tell them about Jesus in this 3-minute song. I have a way bigger view of God than that. I don't think I'm saving anybody. I literally don't think I save anybody. I think God saves people, and I think God plants seeds, and I think I'm one part of that process. And somebody might hear Lecrae, or somebody might even hear NF, and then somehow in the algorithm stumble across what I'm doing, and somehow stumble across a video, and then somehow end up in the middle of this conversation and be like, wow, I've never really thought about Jesus like that. Maybe I should open the Bible app and read my Bible, right? And so I'm thinking of it as like God is the one saving people. It's not me. And I'm not no like hyper intense Calvinist or anything like that. But let me read a couple of these comments real quick. This is a really good conversation. Thank you for bringing this up.
Sure.
From the outside looking in, Ruslan makes Christian music dope for non-Christians too. Like if anything could encourage others to look into more. No offense to this artist, but it was like so it was so face value. There's enough of that. There's enough of that. God's kingdom is put in every part of the world. Just understand the only divine. Great convo. Some people think like the moment rather than the that's right moment. It has evolved a lot for the better. And I think I don't know, man. So that artist who makes songs about their girlfriend, they're breaking up with their girlfriend. I don't have a problem with that, dude. I think that artist who only makes songs about breaking up with their girlfriend and never talks about Jesus. What I'm talking about, though. Like
every song.
Is
that like the track you just heard? That's the last track on my CD. Kingdom of God. It's like the emphasis, the exclamation point. But I feel like when someone's not versatile enough to be able to preach Jesus, like you were saying, but still talk about other things. I feel like, why are you even in the Christian realm? You should just go and take another route. And be a Christian on the outside. And try to say your CHH. Like I personally don't like how Lecrae says he's not a Christian rapper, but he's clearly a Christian, and he'll take the Grammy nominees and all that stuff for gospel. You have to enter your art into that category, but it's like he's not taking the, you know what I mean? Like I get confused by people that try to take both paths. Like why don't you just say, you know what I mean? You're Christian, but you like like kind of what you're saying. Like you're just doing like your thing. You don't do it on every single song, but I guess that's what I'm at.
I think that's a fair point, and I think if somebody isn't going to have some degree of being explicit about their faith and their art, then yes, to your point, why call it Christian art or Christian rap or whatever, right? So I think my issue with the NF early on, and I don't know if it's still happening, it might be, was that they intentionally marketed him to youth group kids, Christian youth group kids. And I thought that was unethical. I don't think you should market music that's fairly dark, that doesn't have a ton of gospel in it, to emotionally fragile kids who are depressed, like in youth group. I think that's kind of janky, but that's just my opinion, right? So I will say this. I don't know of a ton of Christian hip hop artists today that never talk about their faith. Like, I think that becomes kind of a caricature of people who want more gospel in their music, because when I listen to my friends, I can't speak for everybody, but when I listen to John Keith, when I listen to Paul Russell, when I listen to What Up RG, when I listen to Lecrae's Restoration album, it's evident that they're talking about Jesus. Like, it's very, especially on Lecrae's Restoration album, like he's very openly preaching Jesus. Now, he's not doing the sinner's prayer like you are. You know what I'm saying? But he's talking about Jesus. So I think it's like, where do you draw that line? What is, what isn't? I encourage everybody in this community, don't build your house on the freaking foundation of Christian hip hop, because there's so many things attached to that. Now there's a Jesus quota expectation. Now there's people like you with legitimate expectation of like, why are you going to call yourself a Christian artist and never talk about Jesus, right? That's a legitimate point. I'm not mad at your point.
Let me go just a little bit deeper. Like, I'm not even saying Jesus, but like when we're talking about marriages that are suffering, when we're talking about child, like being a parent, but giving Christian values, maybe not even saying Jesus in every single thing, but giving someone a Christian worldview without even saying it's Christian.
Yeah, I don't know anybody in Christian hip hop, and I don't listen to everybody, just to be fair.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to everybody's singles like that. I can't think of somebody right now that is waving the banner of I'm a CHH artist that is doing what you're describing. Never talking about a Christian worldview, never talking about healthy marriages. I don't know. I can't think of anybody. Maybe you can. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't hear your point. Say that one more time.
I said I cannot think of anybody in CHH right now who is doing that. No one comes to mind.
The people I would just say, like, the people I listen to is like Kingdom Music, like Brian Trejo, stuff like that. So I feel like that's super edifying for me when I hear like a song from him. I'm like, dope. Sure. Like he made me. I've been talking about Jesus every song, but I know it's gonna come back to. It's gonna make me think, what would Jesus do in any given situation? When I look to a song like John Keith, and you mentioned him, it's just like a vibe. Like if I'm rolling to the store and I just want to hear something dope, I'll throw on maybe John Keith, but he's not going to give me no substance for my day.
Well, okay, that's a great point. Now, John Keith will make it clear who Jesus is on an album. He's not going to do it on every song.
Yeah.
Right? So every album is going to have the arc and preach Jesus in an album, but not on every song. And that's what I do as well. But here's the thing. I don't look for my edification from music or art, period. That's not where I go. I go to the Bible. I go to scripture and Bible study. Because I'll describe it like this, right? To me, music is it's like supplements. I don't know if you've ever tried to work out, right? I'm working out a lot, and you could take protein powder or you can eat chicken, right? And you got a bunch of Christian hip hop kids that are living off of Christian hip hop, and they think that the supplement is supposed to be their sustenance. It's not. God did not intend Christian hip hop to be your freaking pastor. God did not intend Christian hip hop to be where you get your Bible study and your theology from. And we came from a very dark, toxic place where these Christian rappers were viewed like pastors and they were held to the standard of pastors. And that was not good. So I don't know a ton about Brian Trejo's ministry or any of that. I have no idea. But I am glad that What Up RG is not expected to act like a pastor. He is a 21-year-old kid. He's going through his stuff. His dad got deported. Let that man live. You know what I'm saying? I don't go to Christian rap for edification. I go to Christian rap because I want to play some clean, fun music while I'm working out. Literally, that's why I listen. You know what I'm saying? When I want edification, I go to the Bible. I go to pastors, actual pastors who are ordained to be pastors and preach the word of God, and I go to Fred Hammond. And I spend way more time listening to Fred Hammond, Kurt Franklin, my favorite pastors, and reading the Bible than I do Christian hip hop. Just like I spend way more time eating chicken and eating fish than I do taking protein supplements. And what we've done is we've taken the supplement, this is supposed to be supplemental, and we've made it our sustenance. And now you have this unrealistic expectations for these guys that are just artists. These fools didn't get into this to minister. Maybe you did. Maybe Brian Trejo did. But What Up RG didn't come into Christian rap to be some pastor rapper dude. You know what I'm saying? He came in to just rap. John Keith came in to just rap. Like, they want to rap and be Christians, and that's cool. There should be a space for that. So I hear you. I think that's cool. Again, it's just how you want to build it.
Have this conversation all day. I'm not trying to take up your time. I know you got more artists to work with. And give critiques to. But it's a good conversation. But I definitely hear you out and saying that people can't take their whole substance from what we're doing. I just know a lot of people are, and that's the sad part. All they do is they listen to a Christian playlist. That's what they're getting. They're not in their Bible. They're not reading. You know what I mean? And
you know what the issue with that is, though? The issue with that isn't Christian music. The issue with that is churchianity. The issue with that is religion. Like,
someone said, yes.
The issue is, we got. Who is that said that? Ray Rock's in here. I'll let Ray Rock chime in too. But the issue is that we've created a culture where people go to Christian rappers before, or Christian singers, or Christian Instagrammers before they go to the Word of God for themselves. And I have zero desire to enable that culture. I'm not going to make Bible raps for you because you're too freaking lazy to read your Bible. Read your Bible and man up. You know what I'm saying? Go get discipled. I do. I got people that disciple me. I'm in a small group. And so, I think it's like, this isn't something that is it's not a black or white thing. I hear you. I think you make very good points. And so it brings full circle. So what I would do if I were you, build your music career like a ministry. Start a nonprofit, allow people to support you like a missionary. You know what I'm saying? And go to these streets and preach the gospel. And I think you're going to have plenty of success. And that's what the Hog Mob guys do. That's what, like, they're a nonprofit. Brian Trejo, there's other people that are nonprofits. I think that's dope. I think there's room for everything. I think where we become divided is when we say, oh, that's whack, right? No, it's not whack. The fact that they want to preach gospel and they want to be gang members and wear purple bandanas and the whole, cool, do that. Just know that I'm playing a different game. So don't judge me that I'm playing a different game than they're playing. They want to make their ministry their music. Praise God for that. We need that. We need people to disciple the streets. Amen. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to help people become entrepreneurs and level up and change their family tree. And I'm using my platforms to do that. I'm playing a different game. You know what I'm saying? So let me bring Ray Rock in real quick because I think Ray Rock has some thoughts on this. Brother Ray Rock, go ahead.
Well, I will say it like this. You ever hear a sermon from somebody that you really respect and that you know, and they take a portion of that sermon and it's like they take it out of context and they use that against that person, right? Mm-hmm. Or the pastor himself, right? He says something during a sermon, and because there's a stream of consciousness happening, he's able to say, hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this, I'm saying this. You can't do that in a song, right? Once that song is printed out, once that song gets on wax, right? You know what I'm saying? Even if you send it through a whole bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? To like, look, hey man, look at this, check out my theology, check out, you know what I mean? If it's difficult to do with sermons, it's even more difficult to do in music, because you have the confines, right, of being on beat, right, using certain euphemisms. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use you can't look at your music as a ministry. You know what I'm saying? And that you can't use it to educate people. But I feel that the pressure to dot all the I's and cross all the T's is a heavy cross for I call it the super right wing of CHH. That's a heavy cross to carry. You know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, on the super left side of CHH, there are people who like CHH music and are questioning whether they believe in Jesus or not. You know what I mean? Both things are bad. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm not trying to tell people, hey, don't make this a ministry. I'm just saying, don't put the pressure on yourself. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, if people can barely dot the I's and cross the T's in a sermon, where they can backtrack and say, or take a sermon down and say, hey, I was wrong, and put this up. You know what I'm saying? Music, if you know anything about music, somebody will remember a song more than they'll remember a sermon. You get what I'm saying? And that's true. So again, what I'm not saying is don't make it a ministry, right? And what I'm not saying is to go the other way and just make stuff that is with Christianese, you know what I'm saying, and not believe in Jesus. What I'm saying is that both sides have a responsibility, and both sides need to be nice to each other. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it took a person like yourself, you know, time to really think through what you wanted to say. You know what I mean? How you wanted to say it, you know what I mean, and convey it, and the people who do that well, that's impressive. You get what I'm saying? On the flip side, sometimes in trying to get all those dots appointed and those T's crossed, you know what I'm saying, the song is trash. You get what I'm saying? And then on the extreme, that's on the extreme right. On the extreme left of CHH, You know what I'm saying? This song is fire, but it doesn't bring out anything of substance for me to be more like Jesus. And I'm not saying that every song should be about, you know, being more like Jesus. But what I'm saying, there's nothing, you know, like there's nothing. Like I can barely understand the topic of this song. You know what I mean? So I think that like we have a responsibility on both sides.
Sheesh! That's some bars right there, man. That's some bars. There's some bars on both sides. Look, regardless on whatever you believe about this, I just want everybody to win and make money and be happy and feed their families. That's what I'm on. So whatever you want to do, just make sure you're doing it in a responsible way. Just make sure you're doing it in a way that isn't taking from your family more than it's giving to your family. You know what I mean? And I think that becomes the thing that I'm hoping. So when somebody shows a song and I say, hey, this is how you market it, this is how you grow your audience, that's my heart. Like, I want people to know, hey, listen, you can do whatever you want to do. Just make sure this art, this ministry, this business isn't taking more than it's giving. And music has given me and my family so much more than it's costed, especially when I hit that tipping point and became profitable, especially in the last 2 years where because of YouTube and because of Patreon, my income has doubled in the last 2 years. You know what I mean? So, that's what I'm about. You got, you know, it doesn't matter to me, but if you're saying, hey, I want to make music that's culturally engaging, culturally relevant, it's timely, it sounds like music from 2020, then be in tune with what's going on. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's a wrong way.
It's selfish. It's also very selfish to use a form of art as a method and not be a part of that culture.
Woo! Say it again!
So here's what's so crazy. What's crazy is that you don't know anything about hip hop culture at all. You don't know anything about the founders of it. You don't know anything about it. And you're just like, oh man, this is a cool method to bring people to Jesus. And the problem is you haven't even questioned if you know anything about it or if you're good at it. You know, how do you know you're good at something if you haven't come to the culture, bring something to the culture and have the culture tell you if it's good or not? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be like the guy in American Idol. Hey, my mom and my aunt said I can do this really well. You know what I'm saying? And the bloopers, you know, where like they're singing their heart out and they think they're killing it, and everybody's like, no, this is terrible, and they're so surprised. They're like, what do you mean? All these people said I can do this. And that's one of the problems we have in church culture, is that we try to grab things and make them a method, right? Instead of finding people's purpose, instead of encourage people to do, hey, what you're naturally good at, what you naturally can contribute in, right? So then you're in church and you're like, yes, they're doing it for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, when you get to the world stage, right? You blame the world for them not having an appetite. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
For your music, you start saying, "Oh, my music is for your spirit, and this is why you don't like it."
Because you're in the flesh.
Because you're in the flesh.
Yeah.
Nah, man, that beat is whack, and your flow is corny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, you can bring more people to Jesus, you know what I'm saying, on a larger scale by being great at what you were called to do and just doing that thing really well, right? And then that giving you a platform to talk about Jesus, right? Like you see how hard it is to stuff, you know, theological concepts that have taken thousands of years to come about, and you're gonna put that in a 2.5 minute song. Well, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. So to your point, I think so. Just to piggyback that, I see this all the time. People trying to get on like TikTok, right? Or they're trying to make IG reels, and they're wondering why it's not working for them. A lot of times it's not working for you because you don't respect the platform. You don't understand that 15 seconds, micro content, there's an art to it, there's a discipline to it, right? So you're trying to get popping on TikTok, but you don't really respect TikTok. You don't really consume TikTok. You aren't really a part of the TikTok ecosystem. And then they blame it on, well, I just can't do it. I'm just not good at it. But then there's tons of Christian creators on TikTok with millions of followers, literally dozens of them with millions of followers that transferred over, like our buddy Alex Dion Wilson. There's a lot of these guys. So it's about respecting the platform. Just like on YouTube, I have to respect the platform, right? I have to respect the ecosystem. I have to respect what's happening. That's why I got cameras and color grades and good audio. It's the same thing with hip hop. You have to respect the platform. You have to respect where you're coming from. However, I do think it's something remarkable. It's something remarkable and something very impressive about artists that can do good music and impart heavy theological concepts in their art. That's why I think a guy like Seven is super successful. What he does is not for me. It is not my cup of tea. I don't listen to it. I don't ride to it. I don't own any of it. However, when I have heard it, I'm like, yo, this dude is phenomenal. Or Shai Lin, who I've had issues with, right? Like Shai Lin is not my cup of tea. However, the fact that he can make a record about the 5 solas, the fact that he could do lyrical theology, it's very impressive to me. Like he does something that is very difficult to do. However, to your point, it is going to slightly lack some of the cultural engagement of it. It's going to be it's going to be the pastor dude that doesn't know how to make a point in 15 seconds, so he keeps striking out, you know what I'm saying, on that platform. But it's okay because he could just be on Facebook and it'll work on Facebook, you know what I mean, and it'll be dope on Facebook. So I think there's a balance of both. And then and there's guys like Eshawn Burgundy that just like, they just do a really good job of preaching through rap, and it's dope and it's cool and it's creative. And yeah, man. So I think those are some really interesting, weighty points that we all need to really consider. You know what I'm saying?